Welcome, everyone. Happy Sunday. Welcome to this Trader's Crib Sunday School Charting. I'm your host, Randy Michelle, and it is Sunday, September 17th, and we are live here today to go over some setups and review the craziness that happened toward the end of last week's trading week, right? So we're going to start with a top-down analysis this week, and kind of go from there. We'll do a recap of Forex Factory. For those of you who did miss day trading sessions last week, we'll recap first of what happened last week. And then from Forex Factory, we'll review what's upcoming for Forex Factory. And then we will dive into the charts and start with the futures, look at the Nasdaq and the Dow, and then kind of go into the tickers that we like to trade. But first and foremost, we always start with mindset. Even on Sundays, we're going to get our mindsets right so we can take it into the week and go from there. So like you all know, I have my deck of cards for affirmations. So let's get into it today. All right. So today we are on compassion and forgiveness. Compassion and forgiveness. I have compassion for myself and for those around me. I let go of anger, resentment, and torment from the past, and I do not give my power away to those involved. Forgiveness is a gift I give to myself. I forgive myself for things I feel I could have done differently in the past, and I remind myself that my response could not have been any more involved than it was at that time. I am compassionate to those in need, as this shows them that they are not alone. I practice this by listening, sharing, understanding, and being of service. So compassion and forgiveness on this lovely Sunday, for those of you who go to church, we keep all of that: compassion, forgiveness, acts of service in alignment. All right. So let's first pull up Forex Factory to get an idea of what we have going on this week and what happened last week. So if I go back a week, these were the red folders last week. We had red folders on more the end of the week. So nothing for Monday and Tuesday, and Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is when things began to get interesting. Thursday was the day that we ran up, and then Friday we completely ran down. We had core PPI and core CPI news that came out. And so that data came out, a little higher than expected, which pushed the market up, as you can see here, from our forecast column to our actual column. We had some, things came out actually a little bit better than we planned. So it made the market kind of fluctuate. Then on Friday, we had the Empire State Manufacturing Index, and we forecasted that to be extremely low, and we came up right on par. But I think because we had so much of a run up, the market just kind of turned around and came down. Now, our preliminary University of Michigan consumer sentiment, that came out slightly below what we expected. So that could have had some impact on that downward pull that we saw. But I really do think the chart was just responding to the level of resistance at the top. Moving forward into this week, we have the biggest thing on our radar is this Wednesday. So Monday and Tuesday is pretty light. We only have yellow folders on Monday with one orange folder, building permits. So, when it comes to the construction tickers like Home Depot or Caterpillar or things like that, this may impact those particular stocks. But going into Wednesday, this is where things get interesting, right? We have the federal funds rate. Now, we are forecasting that this rate should not move, meaning that the last hike took it up to 5.5%, and we're expecting the Federal Reserve to not hike it again, nor are they going to drop it right now. So we're expecting things to stay level, but we will see exactly what happens if there's any unexpected changes. Usually they say what they're going to do, and then the next interest rate hike, we'll see if they do something there. So for now, we're expecting it to stay level. So all eyes will be on Wednesday. Give me 1 minute to address my daughter. All right. Um, So on Thursday, we're going to have the unemployment claims, which, usually kind of fall in line with data that is released with the Federal Reserve interest rates and press conference and things like that. The press conference is televised, so you guys can see it at 2:30. I don't know just yet if I'll be able to do a pop-up. Just bear with me, but if I do, you all will know about it in the Telegram chat. If I pop up in order to discuss and kind of view and do like a live group viewing of what they are saying and releasing in this particular press conference. So we'll go from there. And then on Friday, we have flash manufacturing PMI and flash services PMI right after the market opens. So Thursday is pre-market red folder. Wednesday, as we know, or most of us who have been trading for a while, the market kind of stalls in the morning to wait for this news in the afternoon, and the afternoon session becomes your more liquid session. And then Friday, we'll see what happens after the bell rings and this news comes out at 9:45 to see what type of impact it does from there. So that is Forex Factory for the week. So you guys keep that in mind, and we will now move over into the charts to see exactly what happened and what may be happening next. So of course, we always start with the futures, the S&P 500 futures is the chart that we like to start on because it gives us an overview of overall what the market may do next. So as we can see, if we're coming from the weekly view, we're like mid-month. So I'm not going to worry about the monthly view for now. We'll do that towards the end of the month. But for now, we have a nice little uptrend on the weekly, right? And then price did a nice tweezer top and also evening star pattern here. So prices we should, came down for the past few weeks and then kind of came back up. So then we followed with another tweezer bottom with a morning star pattern, right? And price moved up a bit. Now, as I zoom in here to get a closer look at these two candles, it's not an exact tweezer top, right? It's off just by a little bit. But what it is or could be, a wick is a little out, it could be a bearish Haramni, though, right? Haramni meaning that you have the mama candle and then you have the baby inside of the mama. All right. So Haramni is Japanese for pregnant. And so this is what could be kind of happening here. We will prefer this wick to be inside, but we know last week we had that drop and the week closed with a hammer. All right. So this one candle alone is a hammer. And from there, we're not 100% sure if price wants to continue down or not. To me, it looks like we could have a potential M pattern to come back down and test this weekly order block down here, right? This weekly order block down here. Okay, so that's this cluster of candles. Cluster of candles is an order block, and we have a gap as well down here. So we expect price to kind of come back and touch at least this area before either considering to clear the whole order block, which it most likely will clear, but it'll clear before coming back up, right? And then, or it can clear it, meaning a candle will strike through all the way down here at the bottom, and then your following candles will continue to pull price down. So the probability of it going up or down is still up in the air. And this is a weekly view, so this could take a few weeks potentially. All right. So from here, what we want to do, we want to acknowledge kind of the trend, and then we want to chart support and resistance. So the top support, and we're going to do the most recent from where price closed on Friday so we can day trade accordingly. So I'm going to acknowledge the top of these two candles because the wicks of each one of these three candles is consistently getting lower. And with that, price could be coming down. All right. So on the weekly view, I like to mark the top of the candle itself. And I'm going to take the very top of the green one. As you can see, that green was a little bit higher than that red one. I'm going to make my line red. And I'm going to make it solid so you all know that this is on a larger time frame that I got this level of resistance from. All right, the ceiling. And then coming down to chart support, I'm going to take this dip or morning star pattern, right? So slash kind of tweezer bottom. This one's kind of a little off too, right? So you could take the bottom of it if you like, and that kind of gives us the zone that we'll be trading in. I'm gonna take the bottom, right? Because I know I'm gonna come in here and chart up the middle here and get something from the daily. All right, so we have support, excuse me, the green line, and resistance. Okay. And then we have acknowledged that there is an order block down here, and order blocks are like magnets, right? So they're going to pull price towards them. So I do expect with the one peak and the second peak being lower than the previous peak, that price is probably going to come down. Not before bouncing here or doing some type of breaker ankles type of move, but the 44.31 level, we could see a potential like bounce where we get like one green candle, okay? That doesn't mean price is going to run all the way back up. Let's just keep that in mind. It could keep the bearish sentiment. So now I'm going to move down to the daily view, and we see we have more candles here. And this is where our weekly support and resistance line fall in line with our daily candles. So we see that we had a double bottom. I wanted this double bottom so badly to break through and run up. That's not what it wanted to do. And I told you all that if it got down to a certain level of this W double bottom pattern, it will probably fail. Now, it almost did a little fake out and did another slight W until this red candle on Friday just took all of that out the woodworks. Like that is just a failed daily, small daily W, right? Because we have, let me go to my trend line, kind of chart what I mean. So I think we see this larger W, right? Double bottom. And this was fun, okay, to trade. And then price consolidated up here at the W, which it normally does. That's normal. Once it consolidates, it decides whether it's going to break up or if it's going to continue down. So we had it come down, and it pretty much cleared the whole length of this candle, which I did not want it to do. If this W were to hold, price should have held more in the middle here. So it's a little, for me, it's a little off. So then it came down a bit lower, and then it kind of created this smaller W right here. Right? Kind of like that. Until Friday came. Okay. And then just took the whole W out. This is what we call a failed W. So, or failed double bottom. So from here, price could retrace back up, but now I'm looking at it more on the fact that we have like a peak here, and then this one, it kind of faked you out, but I'm looking at this peak here to say that price is now lower than the previous high, and price will most likely trend downward a bit further. Now I'm gonna take out all these trend lines because I don't want to go to a smaller time frame and further confuse you all, because I don't really chart with trend lines. I just like to use them to draw. All right, so here we go. So now we're looking here. So for tomorrow and things like that, if we're trying to figure out where the future is just gonna go, I expect down, just because there's this small gap here, and price likes to fill the gap with a body eventually. Now, it can take a couple days when it's a very small gap like this, especially with the futures, and it has taken a couple days, but it looks like with about 1, 2, 3, 4 wicks that it'll wicked into it, that it needs to just get it over with, okay, and just completely come down here and close a candle through here. We also have another smaller gap below that. Now, this is where I'm going to go into fair value gaps. For those of you who don't know, a fair value gap is an imbalance that happens on the chart, and it's created by 3 candles. So there should be one when I turn the indicator on that shows up right here. Why? Because we have 3 candles, and the wicks of the first candle and the wick of the third candle are not really touching each other or overlapping when it comes through the middle candle, right? When it overlaps, that means that, there wasn't an imbalance within supply and demand in the market, and price action will just continue to kind of do what it's supposed to do. But because we had multiple fair value gaps, right? This long candle was a fair value gap. It shouldn't show up, but we'll see. I can't remember what the indicator is going to do. Sometimes when there's so many candles in it, it doesn't show up. So I'll draw them. But this was one, and then this is another one. So you could definitely manually draw these. There's nothing wrong with that. I will just ensure that you go wick to wick. Okay, so this is going to be a small one. And so fair value gaps, like order blocks are the clusters of candle. Fair value gaps are your imbalances of supply and demand, which show up as liquidity that you can snag for a nice trade. They also, though, act as magnets where price is going to be pulled towards. So now that we see these two, I'm going to go ahead and switch to my fair value gap indicator so I don't have to draw all of them. All right, so we'll turn it on, and there it is. So this is a fair value gap that is below. There is one up here, but this one to me is kind of filled because we do have some body in it enough to be like that's done. So I'm not sure why it's still illuminating. Most of the time when enough candles go through, it'll disappear. But, it's an indicator. So that's why you need to know what you're looking for just in case things do something different. So with price action kind of looking like this, and I see this fair value gap here that really needs to be further tested. And if price kept trying to get pulled towards it and just cannot for life get through it. And I do believe that the Federal Reserve press conference will help pull price through this fair value gap and clear this out, right? So usually fair value gaps, like the clearing of them with a candle body, meaning candle body coming through and scooping up that liquidity, usually aligns with an event happening in the market, meaning like a red folder on the a red folder on, what do you need this?
Scissors.
Okay, we'll get the scissors. It will usually line up with a what am I trying to say? Sorry, guys. An event like a red folder on Forex Factory, or another news announcement either from the Federal Reserve or any random like unexpected news, like a bomb that went off in some other country, right? Like that will help respond the market and pull price towards these areas of liquidity. So they usually line up every single time. It's like the stars align. It's really fascinating to see how the charts just align with what us as people are doing in the world. All right, so that's what we have for the daily on the future. So before I get into the 2 hour to see what other setups we have, I want to switch over to the Nasdaq and Dow and see how they closed for the week. So we will do the Dow. All right, and I'll clear off some of these old drawings. And we'll start with the weekly and do the same thing for those of you who are new to the crib and are practicing their charting. So we have a nice, easy, clean double top here. And the reason why, let's see, I could take the shoulder. It's going to be trader's choice on how you want to chart this. So in this particular situation, you have the top and you have the shoulder. You can take the very top, or you can take the shoulder, or you can take both. You can also label these lines if you're using TradingView, so you won't confuse yourself as you drop down to different time zones, time frames. So from here, I'll take the shoulder for today, keep it kind of nice and tight for support and resistance. And then I'll take the morning star, excuse me, guys, pattern here as my support. All right. Just like that. And from the daily perspective, so again, let me go back to the weekly. So we have a weekly fair value gap. Fair value gap show up on any time frame, right? And a body, for me, I trade, if a wick goes through it, I leave it alone because it'll take forever for it to come back and close it with a full body. So I'll usually trade it through the wick and be done. Trader's choice again. So in this particular situation, I expect price to come back down because we have another kind of tweezer top here. And then this is not really a hammer. Would you want to call this a gravestone doji? Like price is just kind of really pulling down here. And so I'll switch to the daily and see what happened. So as far as support from the daily perspective, we have a resistance, excuse me. These levels are like lining up perfectly. So we're gonna say that's resistance because you could literally see the straight line as price went up, bounced up against it, came down, tested again, and got rejected again from that same level, right? And with some vengeance on Friday. So that's gonna be my level of resistance. And then for support, this is where I'm not gonna draw too many lines because I have the weekly here. And so it's really gonna come down to some of these smaller fair value gaps. And we'll see if price comes back down here, if it's gonna break through this level of the fair value gap or bounce off of it again. And if it continues to break through and breaks through our weekly, then price will most likely come down because we have this daily. I would say this is more of a gap than a fair value gap. So the indicator does like to illuminate physical gaps as well. Globex gaps is what we call the physical gaps. And this is really a gap down here. So I'll change it to purple for gaps, right? And so that physical gap, price dipped into it, right, with this wick and then was rejected because usually price will get rejected from the first test into a Globex gap, come back up, and then it would most likely want to come back down and fill this gap, but we'll see. Gaps on the downside are always a little tricky because price likes to stay up more than down. So we really need the press conference to say something a little, give us like some hints to like say something about like recession possibly, and then price will probably plummet past here and come through here. That's just what I expect if it's going to happen next week. Okay. Because it could take a few days for it to get down here. So that's the Dow. And then the Nasdaq, and we use the Nasdaq composite. All right. Let's go to the weekly. All right. Similar but different. So we have similar to the futures, different from the Dow. All right, so that's resistance for us. And then, okay, so we have a physical gap on the weekly view. So when I see something like this, I'm gonna take the gap because I wanna see how you're gonna wanna push down here. And it looks like it's trying to, definitely. You wicked in there a couple times and you're fighting it. So you need to come close this gap. And we'll do purple, weekly purple gap, right? And then we'll drop down to the daily and see how that looks. Because gaps are also support and or resistance, just depending on where they are lined up. So we have this nice physical gap here. And price needs to come back down for it. And price looks like it wants to. Why I say that? Because I have a peak here. So price is consistently coming down. So for those people who have followed the traders that use trend lines, this is your downward trend, right? It's just it went up, down. This high is lower than this high, came down, tried to come back up, still couldn't match the previous high, came down. It filled the gap here. So that's why I was trying to come up. Then came down and then still can't manage to come back up to the previous high. So it's just down on a downward trend, right? And when you see something like that, you can assume that price is going to continue down. So I'm putting on a bearish hat this week, especially since the Federal Reserve press conferences usually load the market with additional fear. So I would expect the Nasdaq to come down and fill this gap like 110% almost. And If it doesn't do that, I'll be surprised. But the way this pattern looks, and then if we really squeeze here, we can, let me draw this differently. So let's move it here and come like this here. And one more line. There's our M. So the inverse of a W or double bottom is the M or the double top, which is your bearish signal that price is most likely coming down. It's a little choppy in there because it did it with some significant amount of pin candle patterns. But for me, that's price trying to come down for sure. And the way Apple's been looking, since Apple holds a lot of weight on the Nasdaq, I would assume it's coming down. So I'm reversing my position on Apple because it's driving me nuts. I mean, this the new iPhone wasn't that exciting and a few other things. Apple needs to step up their game. They need to rebirth a new Steve Jobs. Something needs to happen because they're just not doing anything. All right, so we went over the futures, the Dow, and the Nasdaq as far as last week. So now let's go back to the futures and let's come down to the 2-hour and look at what we may have in 30 minutes when this market goes live, right? So the futures market is going to go live tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I trade overnight. In my beauty sleep, I make beautiful money. And I love that about myself. So let's see what we got for tonight. And I expect all of you to try this in sim. Stop watching the chart, do the move, and not practice getting the move, please, and thank you. Okay? Y'all know who I'm bumping over there. Y'all can do this. We got this. We're here with you. We're here together. So let's look. All right, so price dropped significantly on Friday. This was pretty much all day drop, just all the way down. Nice, beautifully done. All right. We're down here at a level of support, right? At these bottoms. Okay, let me go to dotted lines now. All right. So price came down here, got rejected. I don't really know if price is going to turn around. I'm not kidding you guys. All right, so the reason why is because we have that fair value gap. Where is that fair value gap? Let me mark this fair value gap down here. Give me 1 second. What you saying, Tandra? Lovely cup is your retrace up to form the handle and then pop the drop. Okay, I get what you're saying. The inverse cup and handle. I agree.
There is, and on the 1 hour, there is a this imbalance that
fair value gap.
It's not a, where are we? Go to your one. Are you on your 1 hour?
I'm on the 2.
On the 2 hour. It might be at the 2 hour. Yeah, that fair. No, right. It's, I sit on 2 hour.
Okay.
Right. You see
this
these two?
I can see it coming up, maybe there. I don't see it to here.
But go back to the 1 hour. I wanted, you don't think it'll make it back? It can trace all the way back up to those green candles. Oh, so that's the same one. It's just
that's the same. Yeah, I see the first fair value gap, but not the second.
That could be the handle.
I got you. I see how you're looking at it. Okay. So I can see price wicking through here as well. And I'll go, and I use the 2 hour and the 15 minute. So we're going to go into the 15 minute to see just how intricate it can be, the pull back up. Because it does need to pull back. It needs to pull back up in order to continue down, right? It's, the charts move like waves in the ocean. Okay. So it has to, because this is just too many candles down. I mean, we have, so here's my other theory. And I should have known this was going to turn around here because it did the 10 candle up. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11 actually. Okay. It depends on how you want to count this first green one. So 10 candles and then usually a reversal. All right. And then this one kind of faked out with the higher highs, but it ran up. And then on the way down, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then this one didn't get finished, but usually our magic number is 8, right? So I do see a potential pull. So it may do the 8th candle tonight, right? To dip into this bottom right here. So I'm gonna move this line from this tweezer bottom to this tweezer bottom, right? And then retrace back up to close out the fair value gap. You saw the 10 candles, like, yeah, just in there. It was like right on the money. And so and then come down to then clear this fair value gap that I marked right here. So I need to figure, let me do yellow lines or something, because that's not gonna work. So I can like see fair value gap open and fair value gap close, right? And now come down to 2 hours. I won't get confused. Okay. So that fair value gap is aligning with this large candle right over here, pulling it over. And then right into our morning star pattern, right? And then two, right, test it, order block right underneath. So all I see is you're gonna come clear this out and you're going straight for this order block. I highly doubt, because it's too close, that you're gonna be like, nah, I don't want to do that today. Like, or I don't want to do that sometime this week. Like I can feel it in me bones. It just feels like it wants to take out this order block. Yeah, like all day. And then from there, I'm gonna pause and then see what it wants to do with this smaller fair value gap, and then testing the bottom, because you see now, look at my weekly line is coming right close to double bottom on the 2 hour. So that's the double. This is taking out that whole daily W. Honest to God, like that's a failed W for you. Okay, the price just came all the way down. So I see it clearing out this, and then if it does do that, I'll see what the retracement looks like. I don't think it's going to be very high, especially with what we have as upcoming news next week. And it's just clear out the W. Just go on, take it out, and be done.
So Randy, if you were going to trade that down to that order block, when would you get in? After it breaks these wicks right there?
When would I get in?
Well, yeah. Would you ride this down to, when would you decide to get in? Would you get in now and go to the wicks, or?
So let's talk 15 minutes so I can answer that better for you.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so the 15-minute, because I am mastering getting in on a retracement.
Yes, ma'am, you are.
Because I'm just making way more money if I get
yes.
So,
I love it. Yes.
I'm not, the breaks are great for conservative traders, right? To wait for the break. But then you're like scalping a 5 to 10 handle move. And I'm starting to get a little greedy here, and like, especially with Tanza throwing all her trades in our face every day. Like, I gotta come in at the top. So I want to see what happens with this fair value gap, because now you have to, because this looks interesting. I don't know if you want to feel this top one, but this is interesting looking, because it's two like literally overlapping right on top of each other. So ideally, at least with the first one, and I'll put an alert on it, because I think it'll take the first one out. What does that look like on the 2 hour? Okay, that's coming up about a little bit higher than 50% of this candle if it takes out that whole first one, because that 2 hour one stops. Hold on, I gotta add some extra lines. This is where I do my deeper digging. I gotta see how it lines up. Okay, so it's either going to come up to the fair value gap, and it already did it. Like what? It made it. It tried it, and it did not leave any kids in it. So y'all know, when I say leave kids in it, you leave a wick in the fair value gap daycare. You can't leave the kids at daycare. You got to come pick them up. So it may test it. This is a very strong little downtrend here. I have to wait and see, but I'm trying to get in when it comes back up here and test this fair value gap one more time, and then come down, because then I can ride it all the way through to the first test, which would be where that fair value gap goes all the way down here. I can ride it to the wick. I can ride it back down to this bottom candle. Where's that on the daily? Does that fill that gap? Okay, so that's the fair value gap close. And my thing is, price action can be a little wicky wonky, right? Because what I could potentially see is like it's getting into this wick and then retrace back up just to be on some BS for like that Monday to Tuesday, and then finally just plummet all the way through take this out and take out that gap that Tanza wants down here, right?
That's like Tanza does. Tanza holds it all the way through.
All
Like
the
she
way
has
through.
faith
That's
is gonna just keep falling. But just from where you're talking, that's 20 handles, is it not? Yeah,
that's all,
like 20.
that's all you need, 20 handles a day.
Yeah.
On something that moves an average of $40 to $50 a day. Easy. Easy peasy.
I like it. Okay. I'm trying to trade from my phone, but you already know. So I'm doing some trading from my phone, but
Yeah,
again,
with the futures, it's actually really easy because like if you're basing it off the fair value gaps and order blocks, just get in. I just get in like when my alert goes off, I just get in with a limit order. Just let me get in, and then I know where I want to get out based on the order block or the fair value gap. So then I just go in and place the exit order on the fair value gap or order block. I just match it up literally with these lines, Tandra, and I walk away.
okay.
And I just wait for my order to fill. And I'll just glance at my phone, and then at some point, you'll be like, ding, and you're like, oh, money. So, that's it. With the futures, really now I know I'm trading either the micro or the whole futures. With no, because Tanza's playing options on them. So you just have to ask her how she's setting her orders to get out when it comes to trading options, because you're not going to be able to get that price exactly, you know what I mean, the calculation of it.
Right.
With the futures the same way that you can with the stocks. But because I trade the entire contract, you're saying you let me know if you need help with the futures, what I'm trying to say.
I have my futures on my laptop. I have it set up, but on the phone,
if you have it set up in Thinkorswim, it's set up. If it's set up, it's set up.
I know, but on the phone, when I go into to do an order, it doesn't pull in because the phone, the app is different then. But that's the thing.
So just type in the ticker /MES.
Yeah, like I said, I got it, but when I go to do an order, I confuse myself because like, okay, I need to go back and look at my setup on my computer on the desktop because it's set up on the desktop. Because I have my stop in and I have my take order in already automatically for Thinkorswim when I do futures. So I already set in a stop as well as a take order. I do a bracket order. So yeah, I do like a 10 handle minimum.
I still
but then I put my stop at 84. Huh?
I do all that on my phone, especially at night.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So I got to set it up on the phone because it didn't transfer over.
No, you're gonna have to just manually do it.
Right. Yeah. That's what. So that's the reason I haven't done it on my phone yet because I haven't. So I got to set that up.
Yeah, you don't have those templates. Really do help on the desktop.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, you just gotta manually do it, unfortunately, but it's the same thing. So you just go to the bracket part. I can wait, if you have any questions, just let me know and I can send you screenshots in the Telegram. But yeah, so I'm thinking get in at the top here on the retracement and go from there. So I'm going to put an alert at 4508. And then once I hear that alert, I'll check the candlestick patterns to see if they're turning or if they're going to go through the fair value gap. And if they go through, then I'm not going to get into 45.14. And if they reject, then I will be getting in at around the 45.08 and I'll just ride it down. Because you gotta come to this order block at this point. Because we'll see how deep the retracement wants to be. Because if it's going to do a pullback before Wednesday, it's probably do it tomorrow. Because I think Tuesday will probably stall. I don't like Tuesdays. So, I don't know. You can see, we just got to take it one day at a time to see what the pattern does. But to me, this is a failed W. So I expect price to come down.
Yeah, I noticed the W's were failing. So it's like, oof. Yeah, the W's were definitely. But so this bigger W on the daily, you think that's a fail? Because Because it did more than half of it. Oh, I see the one that did the width more than half of it, I guess. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
If it was gonna hold, it would have stopped here at the neckline.
Uh-huh.
And it kind of tried, but then it did this whole thing. To me, it's just done. I'm trying not to look at it as a W. I'm just gonna, continue. Now, the thing about this, I only expect the double. It would take something for the W to break past this weekly line. I ain't gonna lie. So I see a drop, but I see a drop to that gap that Tanza was talking about, the 44.66 area. And then, because it takes some time for a W to get broken, right? If price is really gonna like drop, right? Because now we're coming down into this territory, and I don't want to go back down here to this. This was awful time.
No, we don't want to go back there at all.
I don't want to go back there. Please don't bring us back there. Oh my God. So I see the drop to.
Well, if it goes back there, we need to all be prepared to buy shares of stock somewhere.
Straight up. Okay.
Yeah, let's be paying attention for cheap shares and stuff. Yeah, do that. So if it does go back there, let's take advantage of that, getting some actual shares in our account.
I think the thing is, like, if Papa Powell is gonna say anything around the word recession, we may get back down there.
Yep.
Let me go back to the weekly, because what is that? Yeah, that would be clearing all. That would be this like a cattywampus M, right? Straight to there.
I kind of felt bad because I know the last review we were doing and then we're getting to that top. I'm like, looks like it might be forming an M. And God dang it, if it didn't start dropping, I was like, ooh, did I curse the market? No. But
no,
there's that chance. I just knew that there was a chance that it was forming an M. And when I looked and saw that it was dropping, I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay.
You talking about from the weekly view? You felt that?
It was that week. We're doing a weekly thing. Yep, it was up there.
It does.
It might be from this M.
I was like, come on. If you would have came up and then here you go. I mean, you at some point got to come back, but you didn't make this neckline. So that made me feel like, I don't know how high it's going to go.
I do believe when it comes back, it's going to probably fly back up like with a vengeance. So.
Once, I guess, I don't know what the economy's trying to figure out right now in general, like AI, all these new things. I think we just don't know.
Yeah.
We want to be better, but we're not sure yet.
Well, I mean, like Adobe had good news and look at it dropping though. So, but Apple had good news as well and it dropped. So it's good. Like, what in the world?
Right. Because nobody trusts the technology anymore, I guess, with so much. They're like what Justine said last week, they're listening in on us. I don't blame her. I mean, they probably are. So why some people don't own Echoes in their house, right? It's like Amazon.
Right. Yeah. Yes, Adobe is in a buyer zone. In that chair.
Adobe
in a chair. Yep, it's in a chair.
We know what one thing I just wish I could have convinced Esther to buy a put. I was like, Esther, please buy a put and just play through earnings.
Yeah, Esther's like me. Me and Esther, like I said, me and Esther cousins, because listen, we be getting our emotions and our feelings be hurt, and we mad because you are breaking our heart. Because you
just hold on so long to like you're gonna do this. Like just play both sides. Because that's what I did with SPY. I had the SPY calls, and as soon as SPY ran up, I got out, and then I hedged back with puts.
Yeah.
Had to turn around.
And that's where you and Tanza are doing a very good job of jumping on both sides. I'm on, like I said, I can get on both sides, but man, it takes a lot of talking me into it. So I need to figure out that psychology. Why won't I just get on both sides when I can clearly see that I need to?
Yeah, because my thing is, if you can buy 2 calls, then you can buy 1 call and 1 put.
Yep.
Get there. One, the trading psychology is the biggest piece of this. All right. So looking at our friend Adobe, and at this point of the call, you guys can drop any other tickers that you guys want to look at for today. So we can dive deep into the ones that are burning on your heart's desire. I'm gonna go over Adobe and then Apple. We'll take a peek at Oracle because a lot of us jumped into that. All right, I see Eugene for NVIDIA. Keep them coming, and I'll go through the list. All right. And let's figure out what we got. All right. So Adobe, Apple, Oracle, NVDA, Netflix, Gene. Okay. All right. And I'll keep my eye out on the chat for anybody else. I'm still in Oracle too. I don't see any reason to leave Oracle just yet. But let's do Adobe first. So Adobe has dropped with a vengeance from earnings. Here's a little earnings button that lets us know we had earnings. The next day came and it just did a gap down and it's done. Now, what we do know is that Adobe doesn't like to leave its gaps very long. So there's a higher potential that we could come back up and fill this gap now that earnings is over with. So, and this is a nice gap too. So let's take a look at the weekly and just see overall how it looks before we try to assume that it's going to do that. So price is trying to come into this larger weekly fair value gap. It is on a struggle bus. It is slowly keeping an uptrend, which is nice, but it is doing some significant pullbacks, right? We'll see if it wants to come back to this lower order block. There is a smaller order block right here in this dip, but we want to see if it's going to come back all the way through to clear a weekly fair value gap. We know also that fair value gaps do not like to close up fully going down. Okay, on the way up, they can do, but even sometimes even there, they can do a fake out depending on what's happening in the market. But eventually, we do have more conviction that price will fill on the upside than it will on the downside. So with that being said, and I'll go ahead and stick to my due diligence of support and resistance. I'm gonna take this lower one of on the weekly level. The whole thing down through that order block. And then the top, this is a gap that it keeps trying to come in through. I'm gonna mark the fair value gap entry. And see, it didn't even get to test back up there. So I don't know when Adobe's gonna do it. All right. Now that we have overall support and resistance, we have this big U shape down here. We are expecting this dip, this big cradle, well, that's what they call these cradles, to hold price up at this level of support, right? That's what we would expect to happen. But the market moves off of probability, so you gotta be aware that it can probably not do that. And as you can see here, this is a great example of the order, the fair value gap not fully filling all the way down at the bottom, right? Price came back up out of it and it dropped back to it. And so we'll see what it does from there. Now, as far as support goes, well, first I'm gonna mark the gap. And then we'll go into a deeper dive to see how that gap can potentially fail, since we do have a gap. I don't really need to mark resistance. So on the 2 hour, and I have the intraday on, so now on the stocks, these blue and yellow lines on the background are pre and post market of this of the stock movement, right? And you can turn that off on your chart as trader choice. But keeping it on gives you all the little data that you need as far as how price moved. So on a 2 hour, all right, we see price did a big wick up here, came down, and just plummeted during, pre-market hours and things like that. And then continued to fall throughout the day, that between the black is the day. And then even post-market, it looks like it's trying to continue down on Friday's close. So do we have any good order blocks or fair value gaps that price can continue to? We have this order block, fair value gap, and I guess it can technically fill that one. It's right here. It's almost there. So fill it to the downside. And what Adobe likes to do is fill this during pre-market and then run all the way back up here during the day to close the actual Globex gap that is there. So we know that the Globex gap is there, and it's funny how my Globex gap close line is exactly in alignment with the fair value gap close on the 2 hour. Now, the test is price going to come up here and touch this fair value gap on the 2 hour and go through it? Question of the day. because if it doesn't go through it, it's not going to close this gap. It's like, yep. Wick. Remember I told y'all when price comes back up or anything as far as filling gaps are concerned, wicks are dangerous. And that's why I went back to the daily view, because I had a feeling I wanted to see. And sure enough, so price will come back up to this wick and then turn back around, or it can push through. That's the question that you're looking for. So I'm going to wait till this alert go off here at the bottom, because it's just too close. I think it's going to fill this, and it'll do something quick in a jiffy, I'm telling you. And then come back later, come back up here, and then could come all the way back down. Adobe could do some violent moves, y'all. It's like riding a bull for real. Some days it could be more volatile than the futures. It's like, wait, Adobe, what are you doing and why? All right, but usually it'll pick a direction by the morning and stay in that direction. So we want to see exactly what it may do. And if we measure the length of this gap, that's $12 to the wick. So that is a trade that and if I take it from the gap into 11 something, yeah, we can do this trade. Day trade, easy day trade. $11 on Adobe is nothing. Okay, Adobe does that in its sleep. So did I put the alert there? All right, so we're gonna see how that works out. I'm gonna actually take this one off, and I'll just look at it. All right, so Adobe. So we got a gap on Adobe. All right. Apple is just breaking my heart. So I need Apple to go up, but I'm not even going to fight with it. It's clearly trying to fill this order block further through the order block. So I'm just going to switch position and go in for puts and finish writing this down. And then when Apple wants to come back up, I'll probably still hold my call, just ride some puts. And then when I'm done writing my puts, just double down on the call to do something. A part of me wants to believe that Apple's making a big W. Like y'all see like this huge W. And Apple moves slow as a snail. So I wouldn't be surprised if it takes forever to make that shape. just saying, there is a gap down here. So if anything, if the Federal Reserve come in and says something funky wonky, it may drop through this gap down here. All right. And here's that wick. So I'm gonna mark that wick because I already know how you do Apple. And so, I can play it down to it. And if it looks like it's gonna go through, I can just hold it and play through on Apple. So I'm thinking puts for Apple. And then, if you're not already in calls, don't get into them until it turns around, because I don't see price going to turn around just yet. Okay, then we have Oracle, our friend Oracle, that we are playing beautifully into this gap. So, Jasenia, what do you think is going to happen at $116 on Oracle? Because I am looking like, okay, 2 evening stars. I didn't see the, okay. I'm thinking that Oracle may hit a little bit of a challenge here with this 2AC. It already tried. There is a little bit of wick left in the fair value gap daycare, but just wanna see what you have to say since you put us on to this particular stock, because I don't trade it often. But
what did you bought at what price?
You bought
107.
108. I'm jealous. I'm just keeping it.
You bought at 107, 108. Oh, nice job. Okay.
Oh,
I love it. Good job. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. So I'm looking. So I have a few alerts. I have one at like 118.
Okay.
So I have one at 118, and then I have the other one at 122.
Okay, I see why you took 118.
And I have that on the daily chart.
I got you. So you did this, and then you're doing 122. Oh, you're seeing the gap fill. I see.
Yeah.
I see. Okay. Okay.
Is this a long-term hold, or you guys are just going to get to the back, get it back up to the top and get out?
Get up to the top and get out.
Yeah,
That's
me
a lot.
too.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
As far up as it may possibly go. So you see why I took 116 though, right?
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
first alert, and then you're expecting 118 to potentially get there. Okay. So let's
Because it has
see.
it does have that tweezer top on the 24th and the 25th, even though it gapped down.
You're talking about August 20th? Well, hold on.
Yeah,
August
yeah.
25th. I mean, tweets are bottom.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I say tweet because I know it's gonna
No worries.
go. That was my
Um,
fault. And then when I go to the 15 minutes, like it's just stuttering, not doing
mhm.
much. And then when I go to the 2 hour, it's same thing. It's kind of stuttering, but it has like that little baby U on the 2 hour.
No, the 2 hour looks promising to me as far as it coming back up. I do think the
Yeah,
way this formed, that price doesn't really want to go back below here. So like you said, it will stall in this area. And I'm not really sure. And the reason why I'm picking your brain is kind of like, what also do you think the Federal Reserve may do to Oracle?
that's a good question because I've been reading a lot about them this week, and everything I've been reading doesn't. It's like, oh, it's not promising, but that's just what they say. I got to go by the chart
Correct.
because they say a lot of things. That's why I had to kind of like get off of that. They say a lot of things, but sometimes what happens is that the chart says something it wants to do some totally different. So, um, like I said, let me go back to my daily. The 2 hour has, let me see, because I'm looking on my iPad here. The 2 hour has that. Oh, what day is that? I'm trying to look for the day. Oh, that's last one. The 9. So it has the. Why does your 2 hour look different from mine?
I have intraday. I have pre and post market on.
Oh, duh. That's why. Okay, I don't. I
It's
have
kind
just.
of, let's see.
So
Let's just
yeah.
look
So
at the
from
difference.
it looks like it
It looks
said.
like this, your 2 hour.
Yeah, except for, yeah. It looks similar to that. And it has, you
Okay.
see how it has like that, is that Morning Star?
Down here,
Nope, up.
this one?
Yeah. That's what I
Yes.
was looking at, that Morning
Ish.
Star. I was like, that might shoot it back up. And um and then it
And it's
has,
right
yeah.
here.
Why am I trying to do it with my mouse? I'm sorry. I'm like trying to um yeah. Yeah, so I look at that Morning Star too, and I'm like, that might shoot it back up as well. So I do see it going back up. I really do. And I know that it will. It's just when. And
Yeah.
I took some shares on that. But I do have it marked to sell at 124.
Yeah. That's where we're gonna quote Esther, a girl can dream. Cause what like
Well, I'm a
when
manifest.
people wanted to,
I'm manifesting that 124. Shoot. Forget dreaming. That dream has become manifestation.
the whole field is 126.
Do. Yeah, it is. It is. But I was looking into that candle. I mean that hammer. So that's why I was like,
Mm-hmm. We can do a zone. Take profit zone, y'all, right here.
let me see, for the day, that candle looked like it was on the 11th. Looks like a hammer candle on the day.
It is.
Yeah.
You took the bottom of the wick, which is smart. I mean, that's a fair value gap anyway. But if it was
Yeah.
gonna close the whole Globex gap, right, then
Yeah.
126.
And I do have my alerts on because if I feel like it's gonna pop through, I'm just gonna put a trailing stop on it and call it a day.
Sounds like a plan. Sounds like a plan.
Yeah, but I like that gap. I'm all with filling these gaps for sure.
All of us do. A nice gap trade is easy money. So cool. All right. Any other questions about Oracle, guys? For those who took it, wouldn't need anything, we good? Because then we can go on to NVIDIA and Netflix. And then go back to futures to see what the futures is doing because it's 6 o'clock. All right, cool. Any other tickers as well? Final call. We'll get into the last two. I don't want to take up everybody's Sunday evening here. All right. NVIDIA. NVIDIA need to go back up. NVIDIA just looks so ugly right now. But okay, let's start from the weekly and let's work from there. So to me, NVIDIA looked like it got an M, a potential M pattern potentially happening. It really depends on, so we got a weekly gap. Let me zoom in here. It really depends on if we close this and can stay up. Dagnabbit, stay up. I'm telling you, mom, that she on this call. We jumping out of NVIDIA. I'm not losing no $200 run up on this doggone stock. I refuse. I'm gonna take my profit and run. So I'm gonna put a heavy alert here because I need to know if it's gonna drop below 4. Because my thing is, you can always just get back in, just get out, take your profit. It's more than what you came in at, and you could buy what you had back or buy more because you made money, right? So, I don't want to lose most of this if the market goes into recession. Like I'm really, because I promise you, as soon as the word recession come out his mouth, y'all, on Wednesday, like the market's just gonna fly downward and everything's gonna go with it. I can just feel it. Oh man, I'm not looking forward to it at all. Well, we can also short, so it's not like a problem. But for the things that I'm holding shares in, I'm not looking forward to it. So I say that only to NVIDIA. I just need to take my money and then flip positions and just short the same amount of shares or go in for a put and ride it down. Just ride the recession down. Because again, we're not afraid of a recession, right? We know how to short the market. So we don't worry about that. We're recession proof over here. All right. So I didn't do resistance. Let's do the top of this red candle just because price is a bit sticky up there. All right. Cool. I'm gonna leave it like that because price got to come through this fair value gap. I don't know what it wants to do. Yes, there's a wick and fair value gap, but that fair value gap is not just a fair value gap, it's a Globex gap as well. So that doesn't really help me much. Right now, I am more, because I have a candle body within this gap and not just a wick in this Globex gap on the daily, I am more inclined to believe that price wants to continue filling the gap down this way and will close here. And that is how much money? And is it like $6 move, which, you know, NVIDIA can make you some money real quick. So there's that. So I'm expecting a bounce here. I'm not really sure how I want to read this fair value gap at all, with the fact that it wicked all the way through it. So to me, I kind of leave that alone when I see the tail end through it. That doesn't mean it can't continue down in here. I'm just not reading it as a fair value gap anymore. All right, so this would be like support, and then this would be the next level of support, as this is a morning star pattern, this V shape here, right? So we'll see. I want price to bounce off this gap and come back up and eat this gap. That's what I want it to do, me personally. And NVIDIA just needs to stay nice and tight within 433 and 482 and come out with some more AI stuff and just kind of float right here in space. And then eventually, when all of this Federal Reserve stuff is said and over with, you just try to make new highs. That's what I want to happen. And then he's going to do what it wants, right? And I'm just have to trade it accordingly. But that's what I would like to see. Do we have any? You see it hitting the gap, bounce back up. I agree, because this is just a strong like pattern down here. So there's our daily gap. right? So we can mark it without trying to make everything too congested over here. All right. And I just think it needs to do that. And I don't know how the candles are going to look as it's bouncing around, trying to come back up. But that's as much charting I'm gonna do on NVIDIA, since this weekly gap is right here at the 433 level, and price is almost there. I don't want to clutter the chart. But that's kind of what NVIDIA. Any questions on NVIDIA, Gene, before we leave NVIDIA? This is what the 2-hour looks like, and to me, it still looks like it wants to come down. This is another failed W. I don't even know what those are. It's like a W, it's like an M. I don't really know how to, this little bridge here. All right, cool. But that's the overall play I see. I don't really see much else. And then if it we do have a 2-hour fair value gap coming back up. So we'll see how it fills that. And that 2-hour fair value gap coming back up is about $8. So that may be a better move after it fills this gap, get in on a retracement, and then you have like a $12 move coming up, which is some great money on NVIDIA if you want to day trade it. So I'll give you that little piece of advice as well. All right. All right. Moving on to Netflix. Gotta go to my other watch list. Bum, 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 bum. Here you are. All right, Netflix. It looks like a fake out W. Thank you, Jacinia. I appreciate that. Okay, I'm not going to clear all of these lines out because I'm sitting on certain levels waiting for them to happen. I don't know when they're going to happen. But this is the weekly view of Netflix. Netflix's long candle over here to the left is a gap. All right. It is not, it's an actual Globex gap that's on the daily from a while back. This is like 2021. And price has been struggling to come up here, finally reached the gap, and then fell. Okay. And just kind of been floating up here at this level, trying to decide one day I'm gonna make it past this gap and I'm gonna climb up in it. I don't know when you're trying to do that though. Right now, you look like you're trying to close the gap on the downside. So, which is this smaller gap here. This is a BAT or Cattywop W, like we like that. That's our own crib word that we made up, right? So we got the Cattywop W, and then we're BAT, and that's the formal term of it. And so we have this small weekly gap here, right? That price is trying to, oops, wrong thing, solid line. Okay, that price is trying to get into potentially. And that will be retesting the neckline like it should. And then again, if it fails, it's going to come into the leg here and clear out this fair value gap. And then that will be a fail on this particular BAT. So we have to see, because price really hasn't been giving me any strong sentiment that is trying to come back up. And Friday just didn't do any I mean, this candle is just straight like, no, I'm not trying to come up. And so, you know, I don't know. We got a nice evening star here too, which is another bearish signal. So if we come down to the daily, here is the gap again, right? It's tipping into it. We have nice long fair value gaps up to the top that it needs to do. I am just sitting back at Netflix like, why? I was trying for Netflix to get this gap. There is an actual gap right here from the 454 to the 470, right? This from to this pin to this red candle back in July. And it can't even get there. Like, I thought you were so close right here at the beginning of September. Like, I knew you was gonna do it. I set my alert. You gonna do this gap. I'm gonna make some money on you, Netflix. And then you didn't even kiss my alert. You just no love. You just said, "No, I don't like you no more. I'm out." Okay, fine. Fine if you want to be that way. So then now we have two shoulders, one shoulder or two peaks, however you want to call them. This is more of a peak. So this second peak is lower than this first peak. So down we go. All right. We just wee all the way down, like literally the straight days of downward motion to visit this order block and fill it out, right? This order block back here to the left. All right. That was formed between June. So now you know, that you left a candle wick kind of below there. The physical gap really starts from the daily perspective down here on this candle that is May 31st. And we just have to wait and see if price is going to actually break that level and come down here and further enter the gap, right? So it is a roughly, if we're closing it with a body, it's an $11 gap move. It's totally fair and fine to take. You have an order block sitting right here as well. They'll probably want to be pulled that way. But I'm questioning these large fair value gaps, like you got to take out one of them. So I would assume you would probably take the first one as a retracement. Probably not as much money there, only about $6, but it can still be some profit if you play it right. Let me go back to the daily and mark the top of that fair value gap. All right, let's do, and we're going to drop down to the 2 hour. All right, so that's 410. Okay, so it would have to, first, we have no wicks left in this fair value gap either. So if it does come back up, and then we have a little one here, that doesn't help. That doesn't help for this longer retracement move. So we could get stopped out here at this smaller fair value gap, 399, right? And it just keep coming down. We could come up and test 405, right? But just keep your eye on it, set an alert somewhere, Gene, and see kind of how that works for you and what you may want to do with Netflix, because that, I can see it probably coming down before I see it coming up, unfortunately, especially with all the induced fear that we're going to have over the press release this week. All right. All right. So now let's go back to my lovely friend, the futures, to figure out what money I'm going to make in my sleep. All right. So here's a retracement that we called out. Oh, you want Lily? Really? Justinian? All right, fine. So here's Lily before I get it, because I said last call, you killing me, girl, but you know, I love you anyway. All right, so let's go. We have Lily here, and here's the weekly view on Lily. So Lily, this was my previous weekly line. This is a situation where I'm gonna move lines instead of clear to start chart and start over to kind of go the review back on like what had happened in the past or what we're looking at now. So my solid red line are weekly lines, as you guys have come accustomed to know. And we're going to move it up here. All right. So it finally broke the previous week. Now, with Lily, I'm going to squeeze Lily for people who may not know. Lily has no previous data back here to the left. Why? Because it's been on an all-time high run up with the new Alzheimer's drug that is coming out with, and all of that jazz, weight loss, all of that, weight loss, the Alzheimer's, all of that. Everybody want a quick fix, okay? So this is why it's running out, because we live in America with a bunch of lazy, overweight individuals. Sorry to say. That's just the truth. And so this is how we're looking at the chart, and I can remove this line, remove everything in between, and kind of see that larger level of support and resistance, right? So I'm going to come in here and put a more recent level of support, taking this weekly fair value gap at this weekly order block. There's two chopped candles right there, the order block. And I'm going to put another line of support there, because this is a whole nother, I think it's the gap down there. Yeah, it is. So yeah, exactly. So price like gapped up and ran up since. All right, so now that we have, really, that's where that line? Okay, yeah, because of the wick. All right, so the daily, as you can see, my weekly line pierces through because the weekly candle had like a pretty large wick on the top of it. So price is now like fully turning around and coming down and doing like a deeper retracement move, I would say, to the fair value gap / order block. And with the fact that we have this kind of swoop action into it, and it's not like a block up, like really staggered stare looking thing, I think it may take out both at one time. Maybe not in one day. What I mean by one time, like consecutive red candles are going to come through here, and we may not have a pullback, is what I mean, right? So I could potentially see that saying how this pattern looks, and that just comes with time and experience looking at these candles. So we do have a physical gap, which may do something, but it is a small one. Okay, not an alert, Randy, wrong line. Dashed because it's daily. Dash for dailies, dotted for smaller time frames. All right, we have this physical gap that could hold price up, could, emphasis on the could. It depends on what else. Lily is one of our rebels of the market. It sometimes a whole market be red and Lily is up. Like, okay, Lily. And it just depends on what the healthcare industry is doing. Lily's going to respond more to healthcare news than anything else. All right. It don't care as much about what Powell and them are doing. It cares about the health of the public. So going down to the 2 hour, I'm going to leave that there because I don't see anything else on the daily that I would like to chart up. All righty. So we're coming down to finish out this fair value gap. Boom, right there at the bottom. Okay. Support. Got it. All right. We should finish this out because we're just so close. And then there's a whole order block right in alignment with it, right? Because it already broke the wick. So I expect the next candle to come out and finish Lily out at 573. Then once it clears the order block by taking out the bottom of these wicks down here at 571, depending on how it wicks past there will be your confirmation that it's going to drop down and continue to the gap at 563 and finish out this fair value. Well, maybe not finish out the whole fair value gap because it includes the physical gap, but at least fill out the bottom of this candle, the body of the candle, right? So at first. So that's a nice little, what you over there thinking, just sitting here with Lily, since she's like our healthcare guru over there. You thinking I mean, I know you buy shares, but are you actually thinking to do an options play with this one? Options are kind of expensive on this one.
Yeah, I probably do about 7 shares.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll probably do about 7 shares.
So you're thinking to buy shares once it closes, hits the gap, and then write it back up, or you're going to short shares?
I'm gonna do both.
That's fair.
Yeah, I'm gonna do both because I think it might go, if it can, I'll short them and then I'll sell them out and then I'll just go right back up.
Sounds like a plan. I can
Yeah.
see it. I can dig it. Because it looks like a real solid trade. There's not
Yeah,
much fuss and noise and confusion within the chart, right? It's just like an easy down, bounce, up.
yeah.
Just depends
It's like
on how
a,
the down want to be.
yeah, I agree. It's like a flasher. Here I am, and then just show it all. That's what it's doing in the chart.
Mm-hmm. Oh, flasher. I love
I don't
y'all.
know.
I just love the analogies we come up with. Great. I like it. I may hop in with one contract, see what I can finesse. We'll see. I'll put an alert at this fill first and see what if it wants to break that level between tomorrow and Tuesday. All right. Any last
For
call?
the 573?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. Cool.
Yeah, I'll wait for it to break there, see what the candles look like there, 573, and go from there. All right. Any last calls? Going once. Going twice. All right. Futures it is. Can I have what you saying, Whitney? You are hilarious. All right. So here goes the future retracement. Y'all about to make me miss my night trade. I ain't playing with y'all. Okay. So all right. It looks like we got a nice little cradle happening down here on the futures on the 15-minute. Because we already charted it. So now I can just look at the 15-minute and kind of get an idea based on the candlestick patterns, what it wants to do. It's up $4, right? We see the futures moving. So the futures tickers I have on here, just for those who may be interested in understanding, we have the ESZ contract because we're in December now. We have the YM for the Dow futures and the NQ for the Nasdaq futures. As you can see, all of these numbers are now fluctuating bit by bit because the futures market, as well as the Forex market, if I want to jump over here to USDJPY, they are moving. Okay, moving. It is time to make overnight money with futures and Forex. All right, and I think I'm about to take USDJPY as well because it's like, hello, where are you going? And I need you to go all the way up to 154. Yeah, I'm gonna swing this. So I just do a quick glance to kind of know what it's choppy up in here, so I don't want to hold too long. But this trend is crazy. Y'all see that? That is insane. It's like really moving up. And there's like data from like way back here because like the futures is just like I gotta go way back to get this Forex data, excuse me. We going back in like the 95 or something like that. I don't know what the Japanese are over there doing, but I'm all for it. Okay. Konnichiwa me all day long. Okay. I have no problem with my anime peace signs. Y'all know that's how they do. Okay, all day. I love trading USDJPY. So get my Sailor Moon swag. All right. Anyway, yeah, I like the way this looks, but futures, I needed to come up and hit this alert. So let's go back to the futures for y'all who are like more on the getting into the futures first before I go off in a Forex tangent. But 4508, I'm gonna wait for it. I mean, of course I can scalp it up to it. I see it coming up, which I can't, you totally can do. You want 5 handles right now, take it right now, right into 4508. Because it's going from the way this looks, is going to at least go there before deciding what's next. So that is another thing I do too, is I'll go, okay, well, if price is coming to a fair value gap and I got the candle conviction that is doing it, I'll just take, here's one trade to it, wait, see what's going to do. Here's the next trade through it, right? Okay. Another trade down. I mean, because future you just go in and out, in and out, in and out, like double dutch jump rope. Okay. Like just hop in there, ride it, get your steps in, do your twists, right, girls? And then jump out. Okay, good. That's how we make our money in futures. We double dutch it. I love it. So that's one trade. So for those who are like nervous, want to practice this. Practice to the fair value gap. All right. And then kind of go from there. And get yourself set up, Tandra, over there. Figure out how you want to, take it to it potentially. I don't know how you want to think about it. I'm just throwing out all options here, y'all. I'm just throwing out all options. This is a nice little retracement back up to the top, which it just needs to do some sort of retracement.
I want to start taking advantage to it, like when you're seeing it going towards it. Those are the ones that, like I said, instead of, I think it's like just take it to the one that it's getting there and then see what it's going to do. Yeah.
All right. So 5 handles, that's $200. Get it. Or at least $20 if you're playing the micro. Right? Let's do it. All right. And then kind of go from there. Easy peasy, y'all. So that's the first move. And then, I can't predict the second move. I do believe there is a part of me that feels like it wants to come into this candle just a bit. Because the prices drop way too, look at that. So, of course, now you're going to be forming a daily fair value gap, right? So, no, is this the old one? Where is this fair value gap coming from? No, it's not. I feel like this indicator has been driving me nuts lately. Like it's been doing wonky stuff. Like what is this? And like on one time frame, it just like disappeared and didn't do a fair value gap. And I was like, what is up with that? Kind of blew me for a minute. So that's why you got to know what they really are so you can draw them. Because ideally only this much is the fair value gap right now. Because I don't understand why it's catching so far up on this wick right now. Have no idea what that glitch is about. Or is this, did I draw this line here? Is that me? Aha, that's what it is. Because I'm like, where did that line come from? My daughter plays on my chart, y'all. I'm gonna blame her on that one, even though it could have been me. I don't remember putting that vertical line there. That's a ghost line. Like we was talking about ghost gaps. All right. Also, let's review ghost gaps. For those of you who are in Telegram, before I let you guys off this call, because some of y'all like, Randy, what are you talking about? And if you missed some of the conversation or confused, we're gonna clear that all up because Tanza was calling out gaps here and gaps there. And I'm like, Tanza, what gap are you talking about? Like, I just could not see all of them. So someone was like, okay, they're aligning at least with like of order block on a smaller time frame for how I was looking at on the futures. But then she was like, nah, it's a gap. And I'm like, what gap? So she's using the SPX 500. All right. And it is showing her all the goods. And she schooled me on something because I didn't even know this thing existed. And I was like, oh, it's one of them big light bulb moments. Okay. Because I was like, how are you seeing the overnight data on SPX? So she's like, there's an SPX gap. And I'm like, but you don't get SPX until the market go live. And so I will show you a quick comparison so you can see for yourself. So here's the daily SPX 500, which shows the overnight data with futures, right? So we got the futures coming up. If I switch over to the regular SPX, you see how we have all those gaps, all right? And it is similar, but we have global best gap on top of global best gap because of the movement of futures. So if you are now curious and want to know how Tanza is really making her money, use this chart. Use this chart this chart, and she's like, oh, there's a gap here. Because there's a gap on SPX, now there's this fair value gap on the SPX 500, and that's how she's closing them out and taking her money and running, okay, and doing her thing. So you can add this to even the confluence of your futures trades, right? Because she has held things longer than me because she has this little secret chart over here. Secrets out, no secret no more. And it's no, this chart's it's not a futures chart per se. I'll have to do more digging to figure out how this chart exists. Just in there, because it's not the futures. It's the S&P, it's the SPX. But it's the SPX like overnight data that just aligned with the futures. There's a whole separate chart because you see, this is the futures. If you look at my watch list, ES futures, SPX 500, and then SPX. Y'all following me? We good? Facts. That face. That's exactly what it is. So now you can even hold, because she's seeing these other additional fair value gaps, right, that are showing up here that are like, okay, it's allowing her to hold the futures longer, which is now going to allow me to hold the futures longer and just take that extra money. So I love it. I have it SPX. Okay, so it's US. So for those using TradingView, let's just do this right quick. All right, so I played around with a few of them. SPX 500, all right? So the real difference is who's sourcing it. So 8cap off of is looking the same as I'm using the one from Oanda. Now, Oanda's very trustworthy as far as Forex and a few other things. So I pulled it from here. I did the SPX 500 USD, and there's not many discrepancies between these two. We would have to ping Tanza to figure out exactly which one she's using. But everything that she's saying is aligning with this SPX 500 USD sourced from Oanda. Cool. All right. So now that we see the SPX 500 moving, right, overnight, we see that it's coming for the small same fair value gap. And on the 15-minute, it looks very similar. So it's coming up to it. And then if, you had wanted to hold SPX contracts, this is what's going to help you hold SPX options contracts, right? This chart. Because you're like, SPX, how much time and 0 TD and all that is like, oh my God, it's too much. So and you don't know how long you want to hold the SPX contract because you know we've all been burned by SPX. And so this chart is gonna help you finesse all the way. SPX. All the way, all the way. So I'm excited for it. Y'all see what it's doing. Take a look at it, study it, figure out how you guys want to chart it, right? And place your trades using this additional data. Okay. All right. So, any other burning desire questions for tonight? Because I'll let y'all go. Trade safe tonight. Beauty sleep trades only, ladies. Okay. Get that money, get out, do bracket orders if you feel like you need to do a bracket order. It's up to you. You don't have to. All right, y'all are good. Well, have a good evening. Thank you for
Hey, Randy,
joining
real
us
quick.
today. Yeah, I knew somebody.
I know, always. The candle count, was that a book or was that a training? Counting the candles. Was that a book or?
You know, what do you mean, like where I got that from?
Yeah.
The card.
Oh, was it the cards? Oh, I got the card. Oh, then I got the card. Never mind. All right, I'm good. All right.
It's on the candlestick, not the pattern one, but the what's the other deck?
The candlestick reference and the chart pattern reference.
Not the chart pattern, the candlestick reference.
Candlestick reference. Got it.
Okay. And there's an 8, a 10, and a 13 candle.
Got it. Okay. I'm gonna study those. Okay.
All righty. Y'all take care, and I will see you all tomorrow morning.
All right. Bye.